Thank you, everybody, for joining today from all over the planet, I hope. So what I'm going to do is just cover a little bit about why an integration is a good idea. And then Jacob's going to go ahead and show an integration and show the, I guess, live the benefits of doing such a thing. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the evolution of the building industry and look at the left-hand side. It's around regarding value delivery, and the right-hand or the bottom is around system level and building level values, or the importance of things that happen over or certain trends. So the early focus was on system level performance. It was around reliability and safety, and that was really the utmost performance, going back a number of years. And then came upon the scene was building efficiency or energy efficiency, but really more at a system level than a building level. And it was about getting most out of the equipment at the time to be most efficient, but not looking at it perhaps as a building-wide efficiency, more of equipment efficiency. And so a lot of work by the industry was put into making equipment efficient, but maybe not talking to one another to make the building most efficient. And that the trend started around a few decades ago in green buildings. So now we're starting to look at building level. The government stepped up their game. They came out with compliance or requirements, regulations, and even awards for different types of green buildings, or different levels of green buildings. And so they were looking for ways for now the building to perform better, as opposed to just the equipment. The equipment's still important, but now how do these things all work together to make the building perform better? And this led us into what we call smart connected buildings. And this is where some of the really good building values came out of that. So technology took off, building equipment took off, things were starting to talk to each other. Software came onto the scene to pull it all together. And a lot of this just proliferated on the building scene with more and more data and business value. And now, you look at the right-hand side of this slide, we have machine learning and intelligence, and that's showing a chiller there, but it's in a lot of different equipment today. Computing power, the cloud, has come on the scene quite extensively. Gives you a lot of options when you go cloud-based software that's tying into all these connected systems in a connected building, and data produced at rates unseen in the past. So just lots and lots of data, but now pulling that data together to make decisions in the building to run that building more efficiently and provide actionable information. And that's where we go with the next slide. We'll talk about that a little bit. So what is this big data and analytics? So, on its own, big data, or any data for that matter, you really cannot solve any problems or do anything. It's only through the collection, the integration, and use of the data and analysis that the value can be provided, and turning this data into information and ultimately knowledge. So big data analytics can and therefore be viewed as a tool that gives business value to large data sets. And essentially, it's about finding the gems in this sea of data. Companies today are awash with data, so gathering it all is the easy part. The hard part is sifting through it to arrive at meaningful insights that can help you make better predictions and more educated decisions. So you look at that right-hand side, the insights talk about or give you insights around energy monitoring, but until you take that all the way over to actions and measures, that's really where the the savings and the performance increases and the productivity increases come about is taking that data into improvement opportunities and acting upon it. So some examples of a couple of things that we've seen in the industry is, there's the building automation systems, they have alarming, and for some of you probably were drowning in alarms, and alarming was, typically used to identify, critical conditions and based on a threshold, and usually used to identify non-critical items, even though that, some of the latest technology in BAS systems have really come a long way. But you can get hundreds and hundreds of alarms, and there might be, 10, 20, or 30 that really are the ones that you want to pay attention to. But how do you sift through that? So, some of these alarms that you can program into and integrate into a CMMS system, you can say, hey, with these alarms coming in, these are the most important. Let's integrate this to the CMMS, and then the CMMS will take action upon it and close from that point, as we discussed in the last slide. So those are the actions that you take with that alarm, and not just sift through alarms and try to deal with them on a day-to-day basis. So that's where that comes into play. Another thing that's really taken off is some of these enterprise management systems related to fault detection and diagnostics. So now it's taking multiple parameters, multiple data sets, and looking at behaviors and uncovering, non-critical deficiencies like energy waste and suboptimal performance, unlike, the alarms that really looked at generally single values and single thresholds. So a lot of the different types of FDD, or fault detection and diagnostics, really help identify different issues, and based on rules and comparison and statistics, and even artificial intelligence nowadays are using this as an early indicator of a future condition. And you can take action on it before the issue actually takes place or gets worse. So using both of these achieve the best outcome. And now let's talk about how we can utilize this information with the computerized maintenance management software on the next slide. If you look left to right on this one, the BAS systems can be integrated into Eagle's software, and as well as the enterprise management analytics. A lot of them are, tying into the maintenance management software nowadays. And so when the Proteus MMX system is integrated, it will process alarms from the building automation and the faults from the analytics system, and incorporate them automatically into a standard work order process. The integration between these two is significant because they create a comprehensive tool that leads to better and smart building management. Also energy reduction, and also, cost savings. So you're building this agility and flexibility into operations. You're improving assets. You're being proactive with the asset management, and you're enhancing operational capabilities with your staff, so that work order can be sent to the technician and completed as needed, and you close the loop essentially with that BAS or analytics software that's detecting a lot of this information. And this is over and above the items or the features that your typical CMMS would already have. So this is essentially icing on the cake. So companies are using this data and analytics software, the algorithm, so to speak, to further enhance products and services, and integrate these products and services from multiple manufacturers. So essentially, the technology is collecting and analyzing the data. The experts interpret the results. Some of the software can help do that as well. But obviously, experts want to take the results from that software and do further interpretation. But then the local staff performs the on-site work. And that could be the staff from the company that has the systems. It could be a company that's providing service. It could be a hybrid. But essentially, you're taking action on that information that is, driving that visibility and that accountability and providing maximum value for these benefits, right? Improving energy performance, reducing operation and maintenance costs, increase equipment uptime, and then also providing easier compliance with, regulatory requirements as well. So the importance of this slide is really around closing the loop. Many of the software apps in the market perform the data acquisition and generate the alarms and faults, but many of them don't go as far as making the recommendation to address and then closing the fault or the issue, the alarm, through a set of actions. So the benefits of Eagle Technology Partnership, is around a comprehensive end-to-end solution, not, separate items that you have to then manually put together to achieve certain outcomes or your own decisions. And Eagle positions himself with many companies to continue that revenue growth and have a competitive advantage. So Eagle's integration feature enhances the use of facility systems, and they consequently position themselves for that growth. And by joint integration, partners can fill the offering gaps in building automation and the asset management space. So essentially, the bottom line is, better total cost of ownership, improved ROI over the lifespan of the buildings. So now we're going to have Jacob take over and show some integration technology that has been put in place. Jacob?
Thank you, Mike. What we're looking at here is Proteus MMX. This is our CMMS application. And the way we interact with your BMS is through use of the Bacnet protocol. We are fully web-based, cloud-based. And so the way we, get around the firewalls and such is we put a listener on your Bacnet network that sends both alarming and runtime data over the internet, totally encrypted, to our application directly. And so that way we can get information at an interval you specify, whether that's every minute, every hour, every day. It's up to you how often we would poll that. So what happens is if we take a look here under this menu, we have an alarms option. And I'd like to go through these with you to show you how this works. The first one here is asset current runtime. And what we're doing here is we're taking points from a BAS system. This is just a sample. And we are mapping them to assets. So from here, we would choose a plus and add an asset to display here. And what would happen is then every time that we went out to poll that device, it would capture the most recent runtime value, the most recent hour value. And I believe the point we monitor is uptime to date. So that'd be a value in hours. So what that gives you is a way to then come back and create a work order template that will activate based on that runtime. So if you know that you have to perform a service every, say, 500 hours, you can set up a templated work order for that occurrence. And then every 500 hours, that work order would automatically generate and become a live work order. And it's somewhat the same idea with work orders. I'm sorry, alarms. You can set up however many alarms you want and route those to Proteus MMX as well. And what happens is an alarm comes in from your devices out in the field, and you then map it to a job number that you've created previously. So you know the cause and the issue at hand with this failure because you've dealt with it before. So you can template that out, have the full list of repairs to alleviate that particular alarm, and once it occurs, then you're set. You know exactly what you have to do to get that device, whatever it may be, up and running again. And it's very nice and automatic in that there's really no user intervention involved other than setting up this initial mapping. We also have the option here to sync Bacnet data. That is if you get, let's say, some new devices on your network or some new items on your network, clicking this button will simply bring those into the system, and then you can do that mapping once again between either the asset runtime or the work orders. So once those work orders become active in the system, there's really two ways to deal with it. You can either come here within the application itself and edit and enter hours, so on and so forth, hours worked, and then close the work order from the main application that you see here, or you can go directly through our mobile devices, which in some ways is even more effective. So if you have technicians out in the field and an alarm comes through, you can route it through Proteus MMX. They will automatically receive that work order on their mobile device, be notified, and they can pull it up and say, oh, this is a critical failure here. I better stop what I'm doing right now and go fix this. Or they might be able to say, okay, I can wait a little while on this one and continue to do what they were working on. And once that work is done, well, what they would do is enter a number of hours that were worked. And there's a number of ways to do that. Again, you can either do it through this web interface or through a mobile device. Any of the parts that they used, if any. And then the causes, which is actually the root cause failure. And these are very, very important in that it's going to allow you to see the trends over time as to what is actually causing most of your issues. And this would mostly just apply to those alarm issues or break fix instances that came from the BAS. Runtime, you kind of know it's a fixed procedure. It doesn't really have a cause. We just need to perform maintenance. So once that's there, then they can actually close this work order and make it part of the historical record for that asset. And we track both year-to-date and life-to-date values for the costing information, as well as the work procedures that were done, pretty much infinitely. We'll keep that forever. And provided you're filling out enough information, that is going to then let you do those analytics that Mike was talking about. Now, we have a couple of examples here that are standard with the product. We also have an array of custom KPIs. For example, we have mean time between failure, which is one most people are familiar with. So you can choose a date range here. Now let's go back a little bit further. Okay, we don't have anything here. Let's see. I'll try to find one that has that data, but you get the idea. We just don't have any data in this demo system for some reason. It was just recently cleaned out, so But these KPIs are really what's going to get you the data that you need at the end of the day to make smart decisions on what to do with your assets, where to put your budget, and even somewhat how to schedule your labor out into the future. So that's kind of the cycle. The BAS sends an alarm. Proteus MMX receives it in the cloud, and it then immediately becomes an active work order, which is pushed out to the technicians automatically, either through their mobile device or through just logging in and looking at it on the screen as we did. They go through, complete the work, and then close that work order out, and it becomes part of the history of that asset. And again, that data is stored basically forever. For the runtime, much the same. The current runtime of the machine or device comes into the system through the BAS across the internet, updates the asset's current runtime, and if it meets the criteria for triggering a work order, a routine work order, it will do so. And then that becomes a matter of scheduling that routine work to be done at a time that's convenient, where some downtime can be tolerated. Doing the PM, recording all the work done, parts used, etc., closing that work order out, and then having that as part of your history as well. So it really gives you a big picture of everything that's going on with your equipment by following these last follow-through steps that, like Mike said, close the loop. It really does close the loop on the whole system. It takes you from the beginning stage, which is a failure, to the end stage, with everything being fixed and documented. So that being said, I think I'll wrap it up here for now without going into the entirety of the system here. As you can see, there's actually quite a bit up here that we do, but I would be happy to answer any questions about the system after the presentation here, so feel free.
Do you do any frequency analysis?
That would be done through some of the KPIs, and in fact, that's obviously the mean time between failure is one of those. I just don't have any data to show you. And we can actually custom build a KPI to your needs as well. So, not one shoe is not going to fit everybody, and we realize that there's going to have to be some customization done for some of these KPIs. So,
what is the way to rename the assets?
oh, yeah, we have a couple of different ways to do that. You can either manually do it, which is not very desirable, or there's a template that we can use that will essentially import all your changes. So you take the old value and it'll insert a new value. Hear from Roger as well. What's your advantage? I think our flexibility. We work with our customers to get the integration done in a way that makes sense to you. Aside from the fact that there's few people out there doing this type of integration in a cloud-based platform, we do it very well in that we can work with you to get it to the point where you need for it to be. And that's just generally part of what we do as a software company.
Okay, I'm going to close the questions. I think we've received most of them. But if you have any questions, you can email us at sales@CMMS or give us a call. I just want to thank Jacob and Michael for the webinar today. And as mentioned before, we will send out the recording later. Thank you very much.